It's time for the Bleed Los Podcast with your hosts, Alonso and Juan, Alicia Del Valle, and the babyface gimmick in the sky, Roger.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. From baseball, golf, soccer, and all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here.
Welcome to another edition of the Bleed Los Podcast. And I'm pretty excited for this episode we're about to record right now. We have one of the Dodgers, I'm going to say one of the Dodgers' best relievers this season. I mean, he's been solid. He comes out, gets the job done, delivers. So help me welcome Alex Vesia, man. How you doing, man?
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on. This is pretty cool. Pretty cool. We got an off day today, so I've been relaxing and whatnot. I'm actually at my parents' place in San Diego today. We had the family trip that we just had, Chicago and then San Francisco. So my wife and I drove down to pick up our two little dogs, and then we'll drive up later today.
Nice. So Alex, before we, I wanted to start, so you're in your fourth season, right? Fourth season with the Dodgers, right? You came in 2021. Yeah, 21. So now you're in your fourth season. So you're one of the longest actually tenured Dodgers, maybe not like career-wise, but as far as being on this team. So how have you adapted to that new role as kind of being the veterans of this squad and that bullpen? Right.
Yeah. The last, we'll just call it 3 years. It's been great. I've learned a lot. We've had success, we've had failure, right? I've gotten to basically like be under the wing of some really, really good relievers, right? In 21, Kenley Jansen was the guy, right? So I got to learn from him. Then I would say the past 2 years, it's been, Blake Trinan, Daniel Hudson, Joe Kelly, right? Just to name a few, right? I even got to be with Craig Kimbrell a little bit. All really, really good relievers. So, in this fourth year, it's been a lot of fun so far. We've had some ups and downs with, guys getting hurt, right? Always like the shift of the bullpen, but as of late, man, we've been doing our thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of some of those early injuries, right? You had guys like Gratterall go down, Kyle hurt, even Blake Trinan, he was down for a bit, came up late. So how was the approach when you guys as a bullpen, or even yourself, when those guys went down, how do you guys now take that going into the season? What's your plan of approach now going into a season knowing that, okay, we got to pick these guys up?
Yeah. I think it kind of starts with like Mark Pryor, Josh Bard, Connor McGinnis, right? Them three with game planning, where they are a little bit more clear with where our lanes are, who we're going to be facing in the lineup, because it does change from inning to inning, game to game, and what relievers are available that night, right? Whether they're got hurt and they're rehabbing, or it's guys that pitched the day before, pitched 2 days before, 3 days before, all those taken to consideration by Doc, that I think maybe the fan watching the game might not take into consideration, right? Where our workload can be high depending on the last 2 or 3 games that we had just played. So it's it's always fun, when it's when things are tight, like the other day when Gavin Stone went 9 innings, right? Like we only had a couple relievers to go that night. So for him to do that, I mean, we got a lot of respect for Gavin. So, it's the bullpen is tough. And I think Doc does a great job managing it, right? Making sure that guys aren't being overused. because that can happen. You can see that from around the league where a manager will, kind of overuse it and a guy gets hurt or, his velocity goes down, right? Like, it all takes a part.
I so appreciate that you use the word fun to describe.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that attitude. We love it. And you mentioned the fans, how we might not take all of that into consideration. And I love that you gave it up for your teammate Gavin Stone. What a night, right? And I love that
Awesome.
Doc let him, allow that to happen, right?
Yeah.
But let's give some props. I want to give you your flowers too, Alex Vesia. You've had a very killer season, and we're just starting July.
Yeah.
I mean, your strikeouts are up. Your ERA is 1.23. Like, it's all good. I know last season you had a little bit of a rough patch, but let's focus on this season. What has been the difference? What has been the change for you? What's that secret sauce?
So I think that how you just said we don't want to focus on last year, right? But like for me, the failure was so important because there was so much growth. So like with the failure, we were able to there was a lot of things that jumped out, right? Where I can't just throw the fastball at the top of the zone and expect to be successful, right? Big league hitters are good. It doesn't matter what they're batting, right? Like they could be batting 150, they could be batting 300, right? Like if a hitter knows fastball's coming at the top of the zone, he's going to hit it. So the slider for me and the changeup this year has been, the usage is up a little bit more, right? And Evan and I had sat down right before the All-Star break last year. I've told this story a couple times, but he mentioned, he's like, hey, your slider in zone. So when I throw it in the box, it was really low percentage for strike. So when a hitter recognized the slider was coming, if he just held his bat and didn't swing, the data would tell him that it was going to be a ball, right? So that was something that I knew in the offseason that I needed to work on, was throwing the slider for strike to not only left-handed hitters, but to right-handed hitters. And this year I feel like I've done a much better job earlier in the year doing that, which then, a hitter can't just game plan for a fastball at the top of the zone. So it kind of goes hand in hand where if I didn't have that failure last year, I don't know if I would have been able to, or I don't know if I would have worked on the slider as hard in the offseason. So now it's kind of just like the snowball effect, right? Where, you have to, dig deep and kind of figure out where you can get better at in certain areas and stuff. And then I would also say my offseason workout plan and throwing progression was really good this year. I felt very confident with my mechanics coming in, and Mark and I had 2 or 3 small conversations about my mechanics, and then things started to click. And now it's just you go out there and you want to just put up a 0, pass the torch to the next reliever to then get it to Evan so we can close the game, right? That's the most ideal situation, because that's my role, right? Where I can come in the 6th, I can come in the 8th, right? You've seen us where Evan and I have flip-flopped, where he comes in the 8th and I've closed. Our bullpen, we can do a lot. And I think that's something that Andrew and Brandon Gomes, they have done a great job with that. So
awesome. And Roger, he can attest to this. During this Bleed Lows podcast, many a time we've brought up that changeup that you added. So that's definitely something that you've got now in your back pocket, right? And then you mentioned the slider.
Yeah, I haven't thrown it too much, but it's enough to be on the scouting report, and I've thrown it to a couple hitters, and when they swing, you can kind of see them go what the heck, where they don't really expect it, and as I gain more and more confidence with that, I think, I'd like to throw it more, as long as that's in the scouting report, right? If a guy isn't going to hit the fastball and isn't going to hit the slider, I'm not going to just give him a changeup to hit, right? I'm going to attack him with, my strength. So just being smart, I say this all the time to people. I'm I have a window of 10 to 20 pitches to either be successful that night or failure that night. My window's small. It's so much smaller than people think.
Wow. Well, again, you already have 4 saves this season, which is your career high. Bravo. And I think we don't even need to talk about last season. Let's stay focused on this season.
That's all right.
Right? No, I'm digging it. And I just wanted to ask you, what does that feel like to get the ball, to be given the opportunity when you are called into that 6th inning or whatever situation? You just mentioned that. What does that mean to you to have that, to be given that role, right? They hand you the ball, you take them out. What does that mean to you?
I mean, with all of the hard work that gets put in, right? Like for myself, I give myself the positive affirmations, right? That like, I'm prepared, that I'm ready. And I say like, I'm the baddest MFer on the planet, right? Like you have to believe that when you're a reliever, and, whether you have success or failure, like given the day, like it's always a new day, right? Where you can start to just have success. And like, so for me, like I always try to, stay in the moment. Obviously I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I love to, kind of show that energy and stuff, because I mean, I love the energy, right? When there's, 50,000 at Dodger Stadium, there's nothing better, I definitely feed off of that. And, it's fun. Like I enjoy doing what I do, and I think that it goes a long way,
So Alex, you mentioned, so you took last year as a learning experience. So coming back this season, was there a moment this season where you kind of you went out there, you did your thing, and you're like, yeah, that's it. It kind of just clicked back into place. Like there was a huge moment for you that you kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm kind of zoned in now.
There's never really like one specific moment. It's just like we play 162 games in a season, right? It can be very just repetitive of like day in and day out. And I think it's more of like my routine, right? Where I get to the ballpark, I do my cold plunge, I eat, I roll out, I stretch, I do my workout, we do our throwing program for the day. Like when that all clicks and everything feels good day in and day out, it just gives you a little bit more confidence knowing that like I'm ready to go out when the phone rings, and the ball's in my hand, I'm warming up, and it's basically like, it's game time, right? That phone call, it happens so quick, right? I don't get 20 minutes or an hour to prepare for my outing. I get 3 to 5 minutes, maybe. And that's like 3 to 5 pitches, could be 8 pitches max to get warmed up and ready to go, plus another 6 when you get out there, depending on the pitch clock, right? Like all of that stuff is, you have to focus and you have to be prepared, because if you're not, I mean, it goes sideways really fast, So it's man, it's just the bullpen it's a special place, that's for sure.
A special place. And I love how he's already mentioned, Roger, the affirmations, right? How you talk to yourself. A lot of this is your preparation. I know there's a lot of superstitious ball players, right? In all sports, but especially baseball, in our opinion. We find that when we talk to ball players. Would you consider yourself a very superstitious ball player? Is there a routine that you could share with us? Maybe something that not everybody knows?
I mean, I have a few. I think I have a few that it's like, when you're going good, it could be a glove, it could be your cleats, it could be, stuff like that. What I like is like I usually listen to like 3 or 4 songs pre-game. A couple of them are by Motley Crue, a couple of them are by Eminem, a couple of them are, it's a mixture. Those get me like hyped, and I like those songs. And then at the same time, like when I give up a run, usually I'll trim my beard. So like I take it's like a 1 guard and it's just all off, right? And basically for me, it's like, that's done with, let's move on to the next. So like, when I'm looking scruffy, it's good for the Dodgers.
Note to self.
Yeah. So and then I always have my 2 Red Bulls. I think that's something that like that's a staple, right? Where like the first inning, I always have one. They're just the 8 ounces. It's nothing. I'm not drinking a 32-ounce Red Bull, right? Like, and then in the 5th inning, or when the pitcher gets to roughly, it's like between 60 and 65 pitches, 70-ish, depending on, you know, if he's rolling, right? I'll drink my second one. That's when I start like my band routine. I stretch my legs, you know, because I know pretty much, you know, from pitch 80 to 100, I have the opportunity to go in the game. So, you know, it's all, I keep it pretty light, you know. If I were to miss any of that, I know it's not the end of the world, you know, but there's, you know, we in the bullpen, we have like the hat game. So it's like the home run game. So if you know, anytime throughout the game, you can basically tip your hat and you say, I'm in on any of the hitters to hit a home run. If they hit a home run, you get 1 point. You get to like write a quote, like a funny quote or something on the board. And the winner at the end of the year is he, you know, has the most points, wins. We have to come up with like a reward or, you know, winner, like whether it's like a trophy or whatever, right? We haven't really figured that out yet. That's Chico's job. So he's the captain of that. So, but, you know, we keep it super fun, super light. You know, we usually have some fun out there, right? And there's like season ticket holders that they're right there, and they, you know, we've gotten to know them and stuff. So it's like it's very, very comfortable out there.
Alex, I wanted to ask you, speaking of hype, I mean, we know how hype you get, how hyped up you get. And have you been to all the stadiums already? Have you pitched in all stadiums yet?
I think I'm missing Oakland, Detroit, and I want to say there's one or two others. But I've checked off a couple of them this year, going to Yankee Stadium, going to Toronto. Where else have we gone? So yeah, I've pretty much been to them all, other than I think like 2 or 3.
Well, I wanted to ask, I mean, I know New York was crazy. Like every time you guys go to San Francisco, where have you seen kind of that environment's just been like off the hook, like for a baseball game, whether it's a playoff game or just a regular season game? Is there one specific instance that stands out to you?
I mean, so it was actually when I made my debut for the Dodgers, we were playing, I believe it was the Milwaukee Brewers, and their capacity wasn't even full, right? Because it was just coming back from COVID. And that place, they had the dome was closed. And for me, it was like, wow, like fans were screaming, right? It was wild. But then like playoff games, the playoff games get absolutely insane, right? When we played the Giants and Scherzer came in and got the last 3 outs, that was super intense. I mean, that was a loud stadium. But then it's like, you know, you have Dodger Stadium that like, it's every time we play there, it's packed, right? So it's like, you know, that's like a staple, right? Where every time we're at Dodger Stadium, it's packed, and you know, they always have the attendance, and it's always like 49,000 people. It's like, it's crazy just how many people come, you know, a day in and day out. You know, I give a lot of credit to a lot of them. You know, it's fun.
You mentioned too also how you guys have a lot of fun, right, with this home run thing. Like, so yeah. You have a guy named Shohei Ohtani on your team that hits quite a bit of home runs, right? I mean, how's it been seeing him, like now just seeing him every day and kind of what this guy does on the field, and when he hits those home runs like that? I think I even saw a video you guys were waiting one day in the bullpen for him to hit a home run.
Yeah, right? that was against the White Sox, and that was, you know, I was out in the bullpen because if you catch a home run, which none of us has ever done that, you get like 10 points. If you call it and then catch it. So I called it. I was in on Otani one of those days, and there was a picture of me standing in the bullpen with my glove on, and I'm like pretty much ready to see if I can catch a home run if he hits it this way, because every time he comes up, you have the opportunity to watch him hit, you know, a home run that's 115 miles an hour off the bat. Like it's insane. and to watch his preparation and how he goes about his business. I mean, he's the real deal, and there's no other way to describe it. I'm very thankful that I'm able to, have a relationship with him and joke around. And like, that's something that I don't think I would have ever been able to talk about if you don't meet him. It's like, he's a great teammate. He cares. He cares about your routine too. It's not all about him, and I think that goes a long way when you're trying to accomplish, the World Series. When you have people who are selfish and stuff, it definitely, it's a clash. It's not fun to be around, right? And he's the farthest thing from it. So it's like, I'm always going to root for him, and I've faced him before, and he's a hard out. It's not easy. So yeah, it's been very fun to watch what he's doing, and I can't wait to see, how the rest of the season, we still got, what is it, like 70 something games left. Like, there's a lot of baseball to be played.
Can I just jump in there really quick? I know we're running out of time with you, but you brought up the guys and how you keep it loose, and how Ohtani being there is a difference, but that he's not selfish. I love hearing all these insights. But let's get back to the players you do sit in that bullpen with. And I want to talk about like the Joe Kellys and the Chinans and the Phillips. Like how fun are they? Is there someone you bond with the most, or someone that you guys kind of maybe talk smack to each other, or someone you really tight with? Like which one of those guys?
That's about everybody. I mean, I would say me and Yarborough. So Ryan Yarborough is one of the coolest additions, right, that we've had to our bullpen, because he's not a one inning guy, right? Like he takes up multiple innings. He has like the lowest exit velocity from like a pitching stand. I don't know what the exact stat is, but like, he's awesome. He's like the most fun. That guy is a character. He holds like a special place, in my heart, right? Where like, he's just an awesome guy. But like you mentioned, like Joe Kelly, where it's like, we kind of come from like a little bit more of like an off-road background, right? Where he's like gone to the desert and owns like, UTVs, and like, he has that, where like, that's what I did. So like, immediately when I first met him, that was what I brought up. I was like, oh, you go out to the desert or do that stuff. And he was like, yeah, I did that when I was, younger. So like, you can always relate to people, right? And, with like Daniel Hudson, he's been a very, very big impact on my career, throughout his whole career, right? He's had highs and lows, been, a World Series champion, right? And like, he's with his knee injuries the last year and whatnot, like, he's faced a lot of adversity, so I always go to him for stuff. And same with like Blake Trinan, right? Like, the way he thinks about the game, it's just different, and I want to pick those guys' brains, because nobody's path to the big leagues was the same. And I think that like, the more information that you can take in and kind of store it in your memory bank, like, it's only going to make you a better baseball player.
Absolutely. And I love that insight on the guys. But now I have to ask about your manager. We've had Dave Roberts on here a few times. He's a friend of the Carne Asada here at Bleed Los. I wanted to take you back to Cincinnati just for a sec. I know it was Johan Ramirez on the mound where it kind of went viral when Dave Roberts went out there and hugged him and talked to him. Now, again, I know it wasn't you that he talked to, but I just wanted to dive into that, because it's a very special thing, right? With the manager and the player on the mound, and you guys have to just like block out the whole world. Is there anything, have you had that kind of moment with Dave before? Maybe not as extreme with his arm around you, obviously, but tell us about your relationship with, the skipper. Has that ever happened with you where he had to, I don't know, talk you through a moment or encourage you or something like that?
I mean, Doc and I, we have a great relationship. When I say that, like, he knows that, like, every day I'm going to tell him I'm like good to go, right? Like, that's like, I pride myself on that, where like, I could throw 4 days in a row, right? And I'd tell him like, hey, like I can give you an inning. You know, and like he has a lot to manage, you know. And last year when I did have to get sent down, right, like, you know, I was struggling, you know, and we had the conversation of like, you're going to be back up here. You will figure this out, right? Like, this isn't like a goodbye. It's like, hey, like, you know what you need to work on, you know, go to AAA, clear your head, work on it. You'll be back up, right? And like, just to know that from your manager, like, it's very encouraging. You know, it's not, you know, getting sent down is already it's the worst thing in the world, right? But like, to know that your manager is rooting for you and you know, wants to see you succeed, right? Like, at least that picks you up, and it's like, it's not the end of the world, you know? So, you know, I have a lot of respect for him, and you know, I understand that, you know, there's a lot of moving pieces, you know, and he has a lot of guys that are set in place to help him with you know, his relationship with Mark Pryor and Josh Bard and Connor, right? Like, they are all in communication with each other every single day, and they're all on the same page. So it's like, you see that, and that gets communicated, passed down to us. And that's, you know, from the bullpen's, you know, perspective, it's like, we always have a very, you know, clear idea of what the game and how the game plan is going to kind of unfold for that night. So it's, you know, that's where that trust and comes into play. And I've seen that now being here the 4 years, right? Like, I feel like I've had to explain to guys like, you know, Banda and Peterson and even Johan, right? Where it's like, hey, like, trust him. Like, you can trust him, you know. And so, sometimes, like, guys, when you come over from a different team, they might not be that trusting because the manager might not be that communicative with them, right? Like, it, you know, everyone's experience is different. So, you know, from my experience and stuff, like, you know, Doc and I, we have a very special relationship, and I think it's great.
Alex, I mean, just such great insight that you've given us. I mean, about the team and kind of the bond that you guys have. Real quick before we cut you loose, so you were mentioning, you know, it's an off day, and you mentioned the off-roading. Are you you're a big off-roading guy? I've seen your Instagram. I saw you got your truck. You totally customized that. So that's something that you'd be doing on an off day, you know, besides talking to us on the Bleedos podcast, kind of hitting those off-roads with some of your teammates or just your friends?
I mean, not like that. I mean, my truck, I don't really want to like mess it up too much. So no, I'm not like, that's definitely a passion that I've had to put on hold. When I'm done playing and whatnot, I'll definitely get into that more. But that's what I grew up doing. Like, we would go out to the desert. We would go to, you know, the Glamis sand dunes, Gordon's Well. That's, you know, not too far from San Diego, right? That's where I'm from. And, you know, I love doing that. You know, I tell a story that, you know, when I was 14, my parents were like, hey, do you want to ride a motorcycle or do you want to play baseball? I was like, I want to ride my motorcycle. I love that. Like, let's do that. And they were like, I think you're gonna play baseball, right? And at 14, like, I wasn't a superstar. I wasn't like a prodigy of any time, right? Like, I didn't think that the big leagues was even possible at 14, you know. But but like, you know, that's just a passion of mine that I've had. You know, I keep up with the like supercross, motocross racing. You know, my dad is a machinist, so like, he does a lot of stuff for the off-road industry. You know, and so I keep up with that quite a bit. It's a love, passion of mine that some people know about. Others, I mean, maybe I don't post about it too much, but like, it's definitely something that I'm interested in. And you know, like I said, I can't do it now because if I get hurt, my mom would be so upset. She would be really unhappy. But yeah, after I'm done, I definitely would be doing that. Today, we're gonna have like a little barbecue at my parents' place, and then we'll drive back up to LA and you know, get settled in, because we're actually home for more than 3 days. I literally felt like this last month was just us on the road the whole time. It was tough.
That's crazy. I love that. I love that it's your mama that you're afraid to upset.
Well, yeah, She wants me to play baseball and not to hurt myself on a motorcycle or anything like that. So
we Dodger fans would love to extend a special thanks to Mama Vesia. And crazy, just really quickly, my dad is a machinist, and we grew up going to Glamis, Pismo Beach, Ensenada, riding dirt bikes. So I'm wondering if it's the welding or the tools or whatever that keeps the metal going. Like that's very cool.
Has to be, yeah. That's super cool. So yeah, I mean that has to be it. It's what he does. It's cool. It's really cool, man. I definitely, if baseball didn't work out, I would have wanted to do either that. Or my mom works for General Atomics, so they make the Predator drone, a lot of carbon fiber and whatnot. So I've been to her shop a couple times, and so yeah, I would have probably done like an internship with them. I got my college degree from Cal State East Bay. That's where I went for 4 years, but that was in recreational management. So I was planning on potentially doing like a gym or some type of athlete fitness center for younger kids at like 5 to 15, 5 to 20, right? Just because I never had that when I was younger, right? I didn't go to like a trainer or anything. It was just like me searching YouTube videos of like how to work out, right? Like I wasn't taught how to do that until when I got into college. So I got a couple things on the bucket list that I'd like to get going, but yeah, it's.
I think Roger and I would agree that, I mean, don't leave out life coach, because with your gym, look at all the things I learned from you just today. Like don't be afraid to fail was like the number one thing that stood out to me, right? That's what happened from last season to this season, which is awesome. You use music to pump yourself up. I think that is like reaffirmed. The affirmations, how you speak to yourself. I mean, those are just three things you haven't even had.
Self-talk is huge.
Yeah. Life coach, Alex Vesia.
Hey, give me a couple more years. I'll have a bunch more stories, I promise.
Okay, all right.
So Alex, I know you're gonna go off to your kind of side. We're big tacos eaters here. We love tacos, right? We love the carne asada. We call this the carne asada. We just love to hang out. And you being from San Diego and coming on into LA, do you like tacos? Is there a spot maybe in San Diego or LA where you know what, I got to go get a taco? There's a spot you'll go hit up, and what kind of taco is that?
Yeah, so in my hometown, little town called Alpine, there's a Mexican restaurant called Tapatio's, and it has the best California burrito. So California burrito is carne asada, cheese. They put French fries in it, a little bit of sour cream, and then I have it with just with guacamole in it. It's the best. It's huge. Like when I tell you, it's like my forearm big. Like it's big. And so like in high school and stuff, like I always wanted to gain weight, and that's how I would just eat those as much as I possibly could. They weren't super expensive, so it didn't break the bank or anything. But then in LA, there's a taco place. It's like Tacos 1965 or 85. I'm getting the numbers mixed up. And I get there. It's a quesadilla taco. So it's a fresh tortilla, and then they put, I don't remember what cheese it is on it, but then they like put it on the grill, and then it's like charred, and then they put the carne asada with cilantro, guac. I have like, so the other day I think I had 8 or 9 of them, and I was like, I could probably have like 5 or 6 more, but like I didn't want to like overdo it.
Is it Tacos 1986?
I think that's what I think.
In downtown LA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in 1986, and
that's it.
Bomb.
So good, and they like, it's just one. It's like it's fresh and it's super authentic, and like, yeah, it reminds me of the taco spot that's here in Alpine. So, yeah, like,
I think it's Roger. They're like Tijuana style tacos.
Yeah, they're small. They're yeah.
Okay, now you're making me hungry. Yeah. 8 or 9. That's got to be a record, right? 8 or 9.
I'm sure other guys can take down double digits. I think I'm not going to brag.
Well, thank you. So appreciate all the insight, Alex, and taking the time. I hear your dogs calling for you.
Yeah, they just got a bath.
Yeah.
They just got a bath, so they got the zoomies right now.
Oh, we love zoomies. What are your dogs' names? Last question.
Rufus, and Rocket, and they're long-haired mini dachshunds, so mini wiener dogs. I proposed with Rufus when I proposed to Kayla. So yeah, that was like, obviously proposed with the ring, and I was like, look, we got a puppy, and then Rufus was like such a good dog. We were like, let's get another one. So now we have 2. So they're the best. They're the best.
I love that. How romantic and how awesome.
Yeah.
Please say hi to wifey for us. We met her on a couple of the red carpets. She's awesome. Yep. So congratulations, Roger. You want to say anything before we cut him loose?
No, just thank you, Alex, for the time. I mean, great, like I said, great insight. You've made us hungry, obviously, right now, right?
Yeah.
Lunchtime, so we're gonna cut you loose, and we'll be seeing you at the stadium, and just continued success, man.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Bye, Alex. Have fun.
See you.
This episode has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here.